Hi everyone, my name is Cindy, and this week in the lab I'm going to show you how I made this St. Patrick's Day bouquet by upcycling some plastic grocery bags, bottle caps, and a few other supplies to make these 3 different floral shapes. If you're interested in upcycling and making things with recycled items, please consider checking out some of my other videos and also subscribing to this YouTube channel. And if you'd like to receive notifications when I post new videos, please click the bell icon right below this video. Alright, for this section of the video, we're going to be making the Crispidia Billy buttons. I think I'm saying that word right. I'm just going to call them Billy buttons from now on. So this is what they look like when they're done. Alright, the tools you're going to want for this project are some Mod Podge and a paintbrush, some small scissors, some needle nose pliers, some E6000 glue, and a hot glue gun with some hot glue. And for the supplies, you're going to want a couple of different wires. You need some heavyweight wire that's still pliable, bendable, but it needs to be kind of a sturdy wire that will hold some weight. You need some very thin jewelry wire, some marbles for each of the Billy buttons. You'll want some florist tape, and florist tape comes in a couple of different varieties. There's a plastic version, and then there's this more tacky feeling kind of paper version. This is the version that I prefer working with. You also need a little bit of plastic wrap and some green split peas. Alright, so the first step is to cut your jewelry wire into 3 pieces about 6 or 7 inches long. And then I'm going to tie this together in the middle and then spread out the arms so that I can wrap the marble inside. So to do that, I'm just going to take 2 of the wires that are across from each other and gently twist them a couple of times. And then I'm going to add in 2 more wires and then the final wires. For the next step, you want to have a small square of plastic wrap ready to go. And I have about 3/4 of an inch of a little container filled with the green split peas. So the first thing I'm going to do is pretty heavily coat my marble with some E6000 glue. And once I've got that done, I'm going to go ahead and just plop it in the split peas and kind of spin it around until I have the whole marble covered with split peas. And you can see they're on there pretty loosely, so this is where the plastic wrap comes in. You want to just kind of put it in the center. You may want to actually manually move some of the split peas around, but we're trying to keep our fingers out of the glue here. And I'm just going to gently wrap this up so that I can press the split peas into the glue and make it more of a rounded shape. And then I just want to gently remove the plastic wrap, and I'll set this aside to dry. And I'm just going to leave it on the plastic to dry. In about 10 or 15 minutes, I probably want to move it just to make sure that it's not sticking to the plastic itself. And you know, you might want to move it a couple of different times. And then the E6000 glue needs about 24 hours to completely cure. Alright, so here is one of my little billy buttons that I've allowed the glue to dry. And I'm ready to add it to a stem. So I've cut my heavy gauge wire to about 8 inches, and I have my florist tape here, and I'm also going to be using my hot glue for this. So to start, I want to just kind of put a fairly large dollop, I guess, of the hot glue. And then I just want to secure the end of my heavy gauge wire. So I'm going to give it a minute to harden, and then I'm going to wrap the remaining wire around my stem. And once that's hardened, I can go ahead and use my florist tape. Some people, I think, can just make the florist tape stick. I'm going to use just a hint of hot glue to start it off. And then, because it's kind of got a tacky paper feel to it, or it's a little bit sticky, it will kind of adhere to itself once you get the wrap started. For the last step, I'm just going to add a coat of Mod Podge to help make sure that everything stays glued in place, and also to add a little bit of shine. For this next project, you'll need some of the other supplies I mentioned, but you'll also need some scrap cardboard, something stiff and yellow. This is just some fused plastic bag that I'm using. You'll need some white grocery bags and some bottle caps. So the first step is to cut the plastic bag into 2-inch squares. And you just want to use the white part, so you can either cut around the print, or you can check out the video in the corner up above to see how to remove the print from plastic bags. Once you have the plastic bag cut, you can take a stack of squares and just cut them into sort of a flowery cloud shape. You don't have to be very careful. You just want their edges to be a little bit rounded. And then here I'm just cutting a few little strips of yellow to put in the center of my flower. So I'm going to start with them and a dab of hot glue and just stick those in the middle of the bottle cap. And then you just take one layer of plastic bag at a time, kind of scrunch it up, twist it at the bottom a little bit, and add a dab of hot glue, and then just stick the tip of the plastic bag into the hot glue. So you just want to continue this process until you have the whole bottle cap covered. The next step is to use the scrap cardboard to cut sort of a half circle. It doesn't have to be perfect. And we're just going to roll it into a cone shape to fit the underneath side of the bottle cap. And then once the cardboard is shaped, I'm just making sure that it fits inside the bottle cap. And there is a hole in the bottom of the cone. You actually want there to be a hole. So once you have your cardboard shaped, you can go ahead and glue it into the bottle cap. The next step is to attach the stem. So I'm using my hot glue here, and I'm just filling the cardboard hole with some glue and attaching the heavy gauge wire. And the last step is to wrap the stem with the florist tape. For the last project, you'll need these additional items: some parchment paper, a home iron, and a green plastic bag. For this fusing project, I'm just using 2 layers of plastic and fusing them together, so the finished product will be fairly floppy and not terribly stiff. So to do this, I have my iron set on about a medium heat temperature, and I have the plastic bag in between the layers of the parchment paper, and I'm just lightly ironing over the plastic. And then I'm going to flip it over and iron on the other side. You can see the part that I fused has shrunk up a little bit, so I'm just going to flip the whole thing over so that I can make sure that the other edge is completely fused. So once the fusing's done, you have a fairly sturdy but still pliable green plastic sheet to work with. To make the shamrock shapes, I'm starting with a paper heart and just cutting out 3 pieces for each shamrock. And then I just want to use a tiny bit of hot glue to glue all the pieces together. And the last step was to put a little split pea in the center. To finish the stem for the shamrock, I wrapped the wire before I glued it to the shamrock shape. To make the vase, I just used an empty pasta jar, and I used some painter's tape to tape off some areas that I wanted to keep clear, and then I sprayed the whole thing with some gold spray paint. So here you can see what the jar looked like after I removed the painter's tape. And the last step is just to fill the jar with some extra split peas and arrange your floral arrangement. Alright, that's it. I hope if you enjoy crafting with recycled materials, you'll consider subscribing to this YouTube channel, and be sure to check the bell icon if you want to be notified when I upload new videos.